And so I was like, holy shit, like I'm finally going all in with a woman. And now I feel trapped. Not in the relationship, but trapped that like I could be destroyed.
Yeah, or hurt.
By somebody. And I had to turn it completely around and be like, I didn't want that to be in my marriage.
So today we're going to talk about something that potentially makes us very uncomfortable.
Is that a nice way of saying that it makes me feel uncomfortable?
Yes.
I was hesitant to talk about this.
Yeah.
Here's the irony. I think I've always been territorial in my relationships, but not necessarily jealous. And how do you really define jealousy, right? Like, we're going to get into it, but I rarely, if ever, showed up in a way of not being good enough jealousy. Mm-hmm. And so when I'll never forget this, like finding the one and you being the one, exposed or agitated, let some things really come out that I had been hiding from a long time in my relationships.
Mm-hmm. It unleashed some things.
Exposed, for sure. And so I didn't realize that I always had an escape route in relationships, whether it be a girl in my phone or like a list, not that I consciously was making, but like, oh, if it doesn't work out with her, there are other girls that I'd be interested in.
Yeah, always kept your options open.
And not in a player way, in a protecting way. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm always hesitant to bring up my mother because I don't want to make her feel like she did anything wrong. But because of the relationship I had with her, because my parents were divorced so early, because I spent more time with my dad and she moved away, I had some abandonment issues. I had some issues with women that I didn't really realize that were there. Mm-hmm. And when I knew you were the one and I had no more excuses or ways out, I almost sabotaged it. Didn't realize I was doing that. Had that infamous walk with my father where I was like, I don't want to screw this up. And he's like, well, don't, right? And I was like, you want to be my girl? That infamous fight at, the casino that we talked about on another episode of me being like, screw this, she wants to dance with someone else, I'm out, right? And so I'll never forget, like, not even just being engaged, but after we were married. And I'd done this before. I'd gotten rid of every single girl on my phone. And that was a wild experience. It wasn't necessarily getting rid of the girls, but it was like, there's no escape route here. And I remember we got in our first major argument after we were married and we were living together. And I was like, I can't run. Mm-hmm. I can't call another girl. I can't hide. The first 3 or 4 years of our marriage, dealing with that, I started getting a little jealous.
Yeah.
Is that fair assessment?
Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't use the words you can't, because you could have, right? You could have called a girl. You could have sabotaged the relationship. You could have gone on down that road. I think deep down you were like, you didn't want to screw it up. You didn't want to sabotage it. So it was that kind of like that recommitting to it. Like you had to have that moment of like, well, there's a fork in the road here, because I'm either going to go this direction and ruin our relationship or go this direction. And I always felt like when you were in those times of jealousy, which obviously was a lot stronger when we first met, and since then, like we've continued to just get better and better at it, both of us. But when we were really young and we were in that moment, I was just like, I knew that there was self-sabotage there. I could recognize that. I called you out on it a couple times. And then when it got too intense, I was like, wait a minute. If you're going to kind of come at me like I am doing something wrong, like I'm not going to be accused of doing something that I'm not doing, because then it's like, well, then I might as well fucking do it, because then I'm already being accused, right? And it's always this conversation, I think, within a person of like, do you have 2 minutes or, you know, however much time you're willing to give somebody else or another relationship to damage everything else. And like my parents didn't get divorced over anything like specific. It was kind of like a buildup of senses. But I've had other people in my life where I'm like, I saw the damage that was done when somebody made one mistake, when they went down the wrong path of that fork in the road. And I'm like, there's nobody in my life, there's nobody I've ever met other than you that is worth damaging my entire life.
It's easy to talk about this in hindsight.
Yeah.
If that person you think is cheating on you or you're jealous or whatever is that person, well, then you chose the wrong person. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's their loss. Mm-hmm. Like that was the complete reframe. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, for me in the time, not without putting anyone on blast, you come from a family where almost every single woman is divorced. Every single woman is on their own. There's a lot of like things that if I associated you with
the past,
people around you,
or generational things,
you could be like, well, right? And so it's never about the other person. It's an indictment on yourself.
Yes.
Right? It's a mirror. It's a projection. And so it forced me to really have to go deep. Now, yes, thank you for giving me that credit. I could have taken the easy way out. And instead of dealt with it, these issues of abandonment or whatever, I could have went and got that filled somewhere else with another woman or whatever. But then I would have become the ultimate hypocrite, which is not me. I'm a lot of things, and perfect is not one of them. But if I had to take the Pepsi challenge on anything, like I'm a man of integrity.
Yeah.
Like 1,000%. Yeah. But you could get, it's almost like anxiety. Mm-hmm. You can go down a path of delusion. Everything feels like, you know, something. Plus, let's not forget, like when you choose to marry a very attractive person, that person is going to have options galore. Plus, you're in real estate, right? And back then, you were showing a ton of houses off of leads we'd never met. People were looking at you because you're attractive. It played a game, a part of it. And I was like, fuck, I can't control this. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to control it.
Yeah, you did. And I think my conversation to you, especially at a young age, I mean, we met when I was 22. We were married, 23 or 24? Mm-hmm. And so I would like literally be like, listen, I don't want anybody else. I don't want another relationship. I don't have eyes for anybody else, but I do have to like, cause it wasn't just men, right? It was experiences. It was trips. It was, if I was hanging out with my girlfriends too long, it was a lot of those kind of things where I was like, if I don't do that, what I don't want is to feel like confined to where then I'm like, I need something else. Right.
Sure. And you, in all fairness, you were one of the first people married in your groups.
Yeah.
And so you were around a lot of single women.
Yep.
And I was actually one of the first people married in my groups. And when we met, I was spending a lot of time at video poker bars. I was dating a lot of bartenders, you know, a lot of the stereotypical, very pretty, but like wild, right? I was also, I was not a big strip club guy, but if my single friends were like, let's go to a strip club, I go to a strip club. When we got together, I shut off a whole part of me. So in my brain, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not putting myself in any of these positions. And here you're putting yourself in that position. I'm like, ugh. And then I remember there would be times where we'd both go out with other people and I would pull this shit, and it's probably mean. If I thought I was going to beat you home and I was going to be home while you weren't home, I'd go back out.
Yeah.
That's how psycho I am.
Yeah.
Like, no, well then fuck it. I'll go out. And like, and not that I just didn't want to be like, I had this feeling of like, I don't want to be that bitch waiting for his wife to come home from partying and drunk and dancing while I'm taking care of the kids or I'm taking care of myself. Like, like I wasn't secure enough in who I was.
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing is I think jealousy, it doesn't necessarily have to be about another person or another, you know, somebody cheating on you. Like that's not what it necessarily means. It could be the feeling of being completely left behind.
you're saying jealousy of like someone succeeding at something. And
or having a friend group to go to,
100%.
Or when you were the president of the association, that's when my jealousy came up the most in a relationship.
Because I was traveling a lot.
Because you were traveling and I was the one home stuck with the kids. And I was like, oh, that's really cool that you get to go to dinner and then fucking hang out with everybody for as long as you freaking want to, and then get to go back to a hotel for weekends throughout the year. And I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs, taking care of 2 kids that won't fucking go to sleep. You know what I mean?
And in all fairness, in a situation where the amount of cheating going on.
Oh yeah, you were seeing it, and I was hearing it, and I knew it was happening.
I got put into a couple of interesting situations that, thank God, I did not.
Yeah, because I would say that I have I have been cheated on in the past in relationships. So you would think that I would have
and I have not. At least I haven't. I don't know of.
Right. And you would say, I mean, let's just agree to agree here. But you would say that you're the more jealous person in our relationship. I'm the more secure attached as far as like trusting you, things like that.
It's not that I'm more jealous. It's just I know men.
Okay, but
and men are gonna, and you're very attractive,
so you agree
girl.
with me?
Not necessarily. Like I just like if we gave each other, which I'd have no problem with, each other's phones. Mm-hmm. I guarantee in your DMs, there's shit all over the place that you never tell me about.
There's not.
You're telling me there's not just guys like...
Every once in a while, like on TikTok or something, and it's like fat, disgusting men that are like, ooh, you're so hot, or whatever.
I mean, I remember a time when I picked up the phone for you, and you could hear a guy most likely masturbating on the other side.
That definitely happens, yes.
Right?
Because my phone is on... My phone number is all plastered all over the place because I'm in real estate, yes.
That is a situation. Like, even when I got mad when you went on that trip, like, you guys all hung out with guys in Nashville. This was like the trip with like your friends from back home. And there was a guy reaching out to you on Facebook. Like, I know how guys are. Yeah. Women are not as aggressive when it comes to that stuff.
I mean, I know some women that are pretty dang aggressive.
I
think it comes in a different way. The times where I've gotten the most like agitated or jealous was when women disrespected our relationship. Yeah. Right? It wasn't about like, oh my God, Dave's so hot or whatever.
They felt comfortable enough to not hold you in respect and feel like they had a special relationship with me.
Right. Yeah. And if you look at the amount of time that you spend with women, agents included and business people in that world, like I'm very secure in as I don't believe that you would cheat because I think that your integrity is more important even than our relationship. That's the crazy thing.
It is
because I'm like, the girls have been like, well, that's weird. Why is that girl talking to daddy? Or why would he go to lunch with her or whatever? And I'm like, listen, he wouldn't do it to himself for one, to you guys for two. And for me, like I would probably be third on the list because you're all
there. My integrity is more important. Yeah. Even than the kids. Yeah. Because I have nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't have that worry. In fact, like this is a total spin, but like I've gotten to the point of like not even being jealous, but like it's almost like a turn on for me when girls are attracted to you because I'm like, yeah, that is my husband. And you can't have him, and he is mine.
Of course. That's the healthy jealousy.
Yeah.
Right. You're also, I could say that the more secure you are with yourself. Yeah. The more healthy a jealousy could be.
The healthier and the more secure you are with yourself, the more secure you are in a relationship. Yeah. 100%.
I think that's why in relationships, the jealousy comes from, the guy that I was trying to help out had a horrible relationship with his mother. His mother cheated on him and or not on him, on his dad. Like it's not like it was rocket science where this was coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? It typically, I mean, if you look deep enough, it normally is coming from some type of neglect or abandonment issues and things like that people had when they were a kid. And it's a form of anxiety, right? Like you're thinking up things that aren't even true in most cases. And yes, sometimes they are true and those are bigger problems. But I feel like most jealousy on the surface level is things that are just being made up, or you're creating these stories in your head and projecting them on the other person, which is causing more damage to the relationship.
But you can't go the other way either, right? And the other way would be, well, let's screw it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go all in. I'll just protect. And I think you would be more likely to handle it that way than me.
Totally. Disassociation would be my thing. Or avoidance. Yep. Yeah.
And then the walls come up and then like, I won't put myself in a position where I could be hurt as much. And I've done that. That's right back to the attachment styles, right?
Yep.
And I didn't want that to be in my marriage. And so I was like, holy shit, like I'm finally going all in with a woman. And now I feel trapped. Mm-hmm. Not in the relationship, but trapped that like I could be destroyed.
Yeah, or hurt.
By somebody. And I had to turn it completely around and be like, well, that person would destroy that, or you would destroy yourself by ruining it.
And listen,
like I would have to turn around and be like, good luck, you know, if that's what you want to be for your girls, or, you know what I mean? Or like, well, you just lost the best man you'll ever find in your entire life. But saying that and believing that they have to be in alignment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've talked about in the past that like if one person cheats, I believe there's two people in it, that the person who was cheated on dropped the ball somewhere as well.
Yeah, in some case. I mean, I think it's such a case-by-case basis because you have some people that are just going to cheat, you know?
I 100% agree. But I do believe that these are not absolutes or black and white. Mm-hmm. I just saw the video of you saying what's most attractive about a man, right? Helping women rise up and then being bold in his actions. And if I'm showing up at the level 10 version of me, I believe the likelihood of me being cheated on because of that goes down.
Yeah. Or if you were, you would be able to handle it better because you were like secure in yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is like, you could put yourself in a position where, and I gotta be careful there too. I remember like I was so on point, I started weaponizing it against everybody. Like, whoa, like I got my shit together. You should do. That isn't right either. Right.
But I think to your point, like one of the most attractive things and the way that I feel the most connected to you is when you do trust me, when you have that like, babe, you need to go on a girls trip, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. And you support me in those decisions because it's not just the trust, but it's like the ability to feel like, okay, I'm not like, I have some autonomy in this relationship, you know, and feeling supported in that. I think it's huge. Like, you know, when you were traveling with YPO, like there were things that you guys were doing and experiences where I was like, damn, like that is something I would love to do. But I was like, no, he needs this time. He has these connection with these guys. Like this is good for him. And the support going back and forth, I think is huge, which we've worked on. We've had to work on so much because, you know, we work together. We literally are together all the time, more than I think 90% of couples because of our, you know, industry. But having that space to be like, oh, you can have friends. And most of the time I come back and I'm even like happier. Like I had a chance to miss you, you know?
And listen, one of the things that triggered the hell out of me is how someone was like, oh, you outkicked your coverage. Like you were this gorgeous woman that I should just be happy to have had. I'm lucky enough that you chose me.
Yeah.
Right. And my triggering would be like, oh, whoa, you don't know who you're talking to. You know, I may be bald and, you know, I could lose 20, but like, this is who I see myself as, you know, like the 18, the 22-year-old version of myself, like who could have any woman he wanted. Right. And then I'll be like, oh, like I would say this almost as like not being a dick, but kind of like this isn't my first rodeo. But yes, like if someone's watching this, they'll be like, wow, she's gorgeous. You've actually gotten more attractive. Right?
Thanks.
And he'd be like, well, you know, I'm a 47-year-old man and I still am attractive, but like, I'm not the dark, beautiful hair and the 4-pack I used to have. Right?
4-pack?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I never had a 6-pack.
Oh, never mind. I thought it was better than a 6-pack for a minute. And I was like, wow.
No, it's less. It's less.
I know, but
it's like
I don't know why.
It's only the top parts of the rib.
It's only 2 instead of 6.
I never had the belly button.
For some reason, I thought because it was a less number, it was better. But
some people would say you have an 8-pack. Like you have all these things.
Yeah,
right?
no.
So because of that, I would get defensive.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think plays into the next part, like who is more desirable. And so we were joking the other day, right? The other night, you went out.
Oh, yeah. I went out, and man, where I went was like the new spot. It was like the place to be seen. It's like It's not, I wouldn't say it's all cougars. It's definitely like groups of women that like want attention and to be seen, right? And like every one of them is like doing their selfie thing. And I was just looking around like, man, there's some really beautiful, attractive women in this room. And I was like, there's like no men anywhere. Like, and then there'd be men, but they'd be like old men with like their young wife or whatever. You know what I mean? And I just felt like, oh my God, these women are like, they're yearning for this attention and for this to be desired. And like, they're kind of just a little bit lost. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember coming home, and every time I feel like I come home from a dinner or something, I'm like, I'm so happy to be married and not be single.
Well, wasn't that, you were joking because a couple of people we knew were there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I broke your chops. I was like, you may be this gorgeous woman that every man would like, but there's less of me than there are you.
Yeah.
There are, especially with, now with Ozempic and plastic surgery, there's a lot of pretty women.
Well, and women are rising. So they're getting more comfortable in their own skin. They're like using their voices. They're out there more. And
that's that, we're just watching this show and they call it the 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the women want 20% of the men.
Yep. I believe that.
And I'm one of the 20% of the men. There's very few high quality men. So whereas you may be more desirable right now, I'm more in demand.
That's why I think you need a coaching.
Well, but it's ironic when it comes to jealousy. Like, I don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
When you get older, we all become Clooney, and women have to really, I'm not saying we all become, but we have the option like, all right, now we have a little bit of money, we have some wisdom, we know our way around the bedroom a lot more, right? Like men, it's a lot more favorable to age than it is for women.
Maybe. I kind of disagree with you.
Really?
Oh, I think I am like, haven't even hit my prime yet.
You 100%.
What, have hit it or haven't?
No, you look great. But I think it's harder for women to maintain that youthful, pretty. They got to do a lot of like maintenance work. And there's more pressure and expectation on the woman to keep that going than it is on the man. Yeah. Is that fair?
That's fair. And I feel like a lot of women, especially women with children, like they go through those years of like hard shit. You know what I mean? Like you're not just trying to take care of yourself. You're trying to take care of other human beings. And I feel like that takes a toll in a way.
If we ever got divorced, do you think it'd be harder for you to find a high quality man?
I think I wouldn't be lesbian, but I would be like willing to live with a woman to just have like friends and hangouts. And like, I feel like it would help, like you'd tag team like the house and the kids and everything and I joke with my friends. I'm like, if that never worked out with Dave, like, fuck it. I'd just live with a woman.
Yeah. So with me though, and I've seen guys in like executive groups and whatever, they end up with a younger, prettier woman, right? Because they have money and, they usually get in shape and that's usually what happens.
Yeah, yes and no. I know plenty of men that divorced or cheated on their wives and they didn't upgrade.
Perfect. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm more secure and confident now than I was when I was a really, really good looking, young.
Well, and I think that comes with age for most people. Like, I think I am too. Like, and I think I haven't even like gotten close to hitting that point. But back to your original point, I think that there are many more women that are successful, beautiful, have their shit together as options, as in like the dating scene, than there are for men, for women to find it, desirable. Like,
I agree. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But that also, for me, I felt like it evens the playing field. And what's the problem? And because I feel like I'm an elite man, whereas those 80% of women don't want to go in the other direction because they're competing for the 20% of men.
Right.
And then out of those 20% of men, how many of them are like, screw this, and just running through as many women as possible? And they've given up. Mm-hmm. So now how many of those men are four-dimensional? Mm-hmm. Right? They're driven in work. They want a strong woman. They want to put in the work with a strong woman. They want to be family. They want to do all the things. Mm-hmm. That makes it even more rare. It always comes back to, I want you so bad, but I don't need you. And I said it so many times, I had to get really comfortable with this because I want to need you, right? Like, I want it to be like, there isn't a world that I want to experience that doesn't include you. Like, I want to have soul contract, soul connection, this soul marriage, right? 10-year marriage where I could see all of my dreams of the future and I can't envision it with anyone other than you. But at the same time, I can't bring this energy of, if you don't feel that way, then I can't envision a future without you. So it's like trying to carry both of these, like two things could be true at the same time.
Yep.
Meaning like, I want it to be you, but if you opt out or you're not that person, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the beauty when we came up with this concept of the 10-year marriage. Like, if you look at our past conversations, discussions, arguments, whatever, we've done a lot of work around jealousy and about showing up for ourselves to be able to show up for each other. And so when we had this idea, like, I think that's why the light bulb went off. We were like, wait a minute, like, this is how we need to live our lives. This is how we need to continue to choose each other and not just need each other, but just want and desire each other, you know, because that's also where a lot of the jealousy comes in too. I think when we were having
even choosing ourselves means choosing each other.
Right. But in feeling the desirability, like, part of what we dealt with in the past with jealousy is like, you weren't feeling connected to me, or you weren't feeling desired by me. And so that like triggered that jealousy to come forth. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just me like hanging out or going on girls trips or whatever. It was like, you were also like, there was something broken between us where you weren't feeling that connection. You weren't feeling the desirability. And I think truly the reason why we did it is because I do have that avoidant, that shut down, that suppress. And you were like, we're going to have this conversation. And I fucking hated those conversations. But it was like, we had to have them to like get through the J curve.
That's a great point. And that's where I was like, I had a lot of resentment towards it because in 90-something% of the relationships I was in, I was you. And I didn't have to like have conversations around desirability or sex or feelings because that was already being given to me. The woman in most relationships wanted to have sex with me all the time because they needed to be validated. They were going to tell me they love me all the time because they wanted to hear it back from me. And so the fact that I got put in a position, ironically, that I was them now, I knew exactly what was happening. And it was very frustrating to me. So of course, like, I'd be like, wait a minute, this woman isn't rolling over and doing exactly what I say and isn't needy, which is one of the reasons why, if not the reason, why I chose you, because everyone else did that. But be careful what you wish for, because it triggered everything in my past. Right? So I'm like, I got this person. And the more I would go get it, the more you would be like, So I'm like, shit, well, now I got to play the same game. I got to play this cat and mouse game, which I have zero desire to play. And then I just had to be like, fuck it. I got to man up and take care of me. Like, I'm not going to wait for her to give me permission to have sex. I'm going to go take it. Because you're waiting for me to take it. Right? Like, rather than be like, oh, I wonder if like, no. There's an interesting way of like, I have to get more self-interested. Not selfish, self-interested. Take care of me first. And that will be, my purpose needs to be more important than my woman or my kids. Because if it goes the other way around, if my woman or my kids become more important than my self-purpose, then I lose my woman or my kids. And so it's counterintuitive by a mile. Because you don't want to go too far and become this narcissist, where I've seen relationships where the man is like, everything's about me and everyone has to hover around there. So you don't want to overcorrect it either. So there's just a balance there. And then, but I did force you to put the work in too, of you being more self-secure, to be vulnerable. Because I may have had issues with abandonment and rejection. You had issues with vulnerability. Still do.
I was pretty vulnerable earlier this week when I got my first colonic. I was really vulnerable.
Yeah, but not with me, but yes.
You've done your fair share.
Well,
different topic.
Just the fact that we haven't had the sex topic yet.
Well, that's fair.
Shows, I was willing, of course, to go into a topic where jealousy, where you're still like, there's so many topics on sex we can go into, and you have not been willing to have.
I know our first topic that we'll talk to Austin about after this.
I don't know if we intended to start out this way, but jealousy, absolutely. How you show up in a jealous way, whether you avoid it or whether you're needy towards it, will expose probably your attachment style and the yin and the yang of the relationship.
Yep.
And the healthier it is, because we can go the whole way. Like, are you, not to go into the sex, like a fantasy that will not probably never play out. And if you ever let me, I'll be so old I won't enjoy it. Was there's some attraction, and this takes jealousy and flips it on the head, is seeing me with another woman.
It's a thought. It's not something I want to like have, because I think there's a threshold there. It's like having another woman be attracted to you sexually is like a turn on for me. Yep. But then at the same point, it's like there's still a line to cross there.
I mean, once you cross that line, it's like,
well,
I'm sure
exactly.
People could pull it off, but like,
I for sure know you couldn't with me.
No. And that's why this whole spectrum of like what is considered what jealousy really is.
Yeah. And you know what? I just have to bring this up because I find it really interesting, but we've had multiple date nights, mm-hmm. right? Where we start talking, like eventually like things come up and we talk about work all the time. But then like at some point in the night, this was always when we would like have a couple drinks in us too. But at some point in the night, we would start talking about like exes mm-hmm. and like other relationships. Yep. And it was weird because like the more we talked about it, like we'd get like excited about each other. Did you have that same experience when we would go out? I
mean, I never looked at it that way.
Yeah, but you remember, the conversations I'm talking about.
We've had millions of conversations like that. One of the things that's attractive of another human being is knowing that
they're desired by other people. Yeah.
And another way to do that would be taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Having big goals, big purpose, growing, all of these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're not a secure person and you're doing it for the wrong reasons and you're doing it just for the attention and you're directing it outside rather than in, then you got a problem. Like if someone's outgrowing each other and instead of being like, oh, like I'm finally showing up in my full way and I should get everything I've ever wanted from the other person now because I've finally shown up. And if that person doesn't give it to me, my wife doesn't give it to me, I'm going to go get it from somebody else. That's bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
That's weaponizing it rather than be like, okay, I'm more turned on about sex and more confident about sex now, or more confident about our relationship and my wife doing everything because I'm more confident in myself and now we could have a healthier relationship. That is, I think, a much more preferable way of going about it. But you have to have an elevated, deep, enlightened way of looking at things or emotional intelligence to be able to understand that sequence I just went through.
And then it's not about the other person. It's typically always right back to you.
Of course. Like, who the hell are you? Like, all of a sudden you showed up when you haven't showed up for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And now you expect everyone to work around. Like, you still haven't put the work in. For the people who are like in it and they're jealous.
Or the other they have a partner that's jealous.
How would you say, like, this is how you handle it?
Well, I mean, I think most things come back to communication, right? Like force the conversation because who knows what the other person's feeling. And I will say that being on one side of it for a while, and obviously we've switched positions, but like, for me, it was really important to finally open up to you and be like, this is how it makes me feel when you are jealous. It makes me feel like I'm accused of something that I didn't do. And that isn't a good feeling. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's part of it. And then again, it's showing up for yourself. It's showing up for your body. Because when you feel...
So hold on for a second.
Yeah.
If you're on that side, wouldn't you also say, how am I showing up? How am I contributing to this other person having these feelings of, is it because not only they're going through their own stuff, or am I also not showing up?
For the relationship. Yeah. Because there's plenty of situations, I'm sure, where the relationship is being neglected and that's why the person feels like that in the first place. But that's why it's like, take a true look at what's going on and be truthful.
Regardless of what side of this you're on. I would say to a man or a woman, be like, immediately recognize what you are seeking, you are lacking. Instead of like seeking validation and love from outside of you, start focusing it on yourself.
Right.
And give yourself that self-validation, self-love, and start showing up for yourself so you trust yourself, you have more self-respect, you have more rapport with yourself, and that will begin. Because then probably 99% of the time, the more you do that, you'll attract what you want. That's what I would tell someone if they're feeling it. Now, if I'm on the other side, I'd be like, am I too guarded? Am I pushing this person away? Am I contributing to any of this without taking too much responsibility? There were times where, like, if you had just shown, and this is where, like, you can go the negative feedback loop or the positive feedback loop. Because the more I pushed, the more you withdrew.
Yep.
Like, if you didn't withdraw, I may not have pushed as much. So if you would have led the relationship, I may not have escalated as much. If I didn't escalate it as much, you may not have withdrew. So it's like if both people show up. But
even what I was saying, like the communication, for me, that was self-reflection. Like for me, I had to dig really fucking deep to have the conversation with you because I was scared of having the conversation with you and being like, wait a minute, I don't feel good in this place. Like, you know what I mean? For me, that was a way of showing up in a way that I hadn't in the past. And that was tough for me. That was like self-realization, that was like reflection, and that was a way for me to be like, wait a minute, like I do have boundaries. And I even went to a therapist at one point and was like, I feel like I am being confined. And even though like not physically, but like emotionally, I felt like I was like I'm not doing anything, and yet here I feel like I am because I'm being accused of it. And the therapist at that point, she said, how have you handled these situations in the past? And I was like, I don't know. Like, she's like, have you always asked him have you asked for permission to go on girls' nights? Or have you asked permission to go on girls' trips? And I was like, well, yeah. And she's like, well, you've created this. You set those boundaries at where you felt comfortable in that position. And now you have to change the boundaries. You have to open up the boundaries. You have to have the conversation. You have to open communication. And I was like, that's not easy for me to do. And that was a point of like being like, all right, I have to take responsibility. And if I don't open up in this, like there's no reason he should feel like this because I'm not even being truthful. He doesn't even necessarily know that I'm feeling like this. And so that was a turning point in our relationship where I was like, wait a minute. And the way that you responded to it was beautiful because you agreed with me. You were like, you're right. Like, I didn't look at it like that. You're like, you should have time with your girlfriends and you shouldn't feel guilty and you shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah,
exactly. And so that really opened up this portal of like healing for us to go through because it was like, wow, he does understand. He does support me. He does love me. And yes, there are going to be these feelings that come up, but if we can work on them together, like we can get places.
One of the reasons why I was almost fighting for it because you were so closed off, and I felt like any normal person in my brain, if they're that closed off and not showing up emotionally in the relationship, they must be getting it somewhere else.
Right.
Because I feel like, and I didn't realize this till right now, that I probably would have stepped out of the relationship or cheated if, and this is how it happens.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't getting what I wanted from you. So the fact that I kept pushing, going, you must be cheating because I'm going to cheat.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
It was a projection of how you were feeling.
I never realized that till right now.
Yep.
Like I have all these women around me who are like, come please.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm not getting it from the woman that I'm sharing a bed with because she's so closed off. So I'm going to fight for her and force her and project onto her. Because if I don't, then I'm probably going to go cheat. Because I'm not getting my needs met. And I didn't realize that till right now. I was fighting for it and thinking that you were going to cheat because I was going to cheat.
Interesting.
And I didn't want to be that guy.
No, I know. And that's probably why it escalated to the point where you were so angry because you were like, you're forcing me to think like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yet we were both in our heads.
Yes.
And we were both like feeling these things and neither one of us were able to even fucking communicate the message because you weren't communicating it clear. Actually, you did actually probably say that at one point in time. That,
you think I did?
Oh yeah. I remember a couple times like, you know, you must be getting it from somewhere else or you've said a couple times, like, if I'm closed off, like, why wouldn't I? Like, there's all these other women, you know what I mean? Like, almost just waking me up, shaking me out of it. But that's a big realization.
It really is. This could destroy a lot of marriages.
I think it has destroyed a lot of marriages. Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's a combination maybe of like how strongly I feel about you, but also how much I wanted to make this work. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if you weren't the right one, if I would have fought so hard for this to make it work. We both come from divorce situations, right? So like we can break that or make sure it's not out. But I don't know, inside of the moment, I don't think that my desire not to be divorced is stronger than my desire to have a relationship that I'm willing to continue. There's the answer. That's the number one thing. I'm willing to go to war for the relationship that I want and lose it all over and over and over again.
Right.
Which is what the 10-year marriage is. Willing to risk it all over and over and over again to have the marriage and the relationship with you. That's exactly what the 10-year marriage is. The ability to burn off and kill the previous great version of your marriage that you had in order to access the better one, the next level of it.
Yep.
If you're being jealous, it's a gift that a conversation needs to be had and that you're going to have to work on yourself. But not that it's only your problem. You should still be communicating. But if you're going to communicate and ask that other person, like, hey, how come you're not showing up? Or I would like this or that. You better come to that conversation with a willingness to do what you're asking for, to do it first for yourself and then for that other person.